The jungle was already heavy with heat when the sun rose on this night, November 18th, 1978. In Jonestown, Guyana, the day began like many others. Dense air, insects buzzing, loudspeakers crackling to life. Jim Jones's voice echoed across the settlement, low and urgent, as it had every morning. For nearly 1,000 people living there, his voice had become the sound of truth, authority, and fate. Few could have imagined that by nightfall almost everyone in Jonestown would be dead. Their bodies would be found scattered beneath the trees around a pavilion and in the dirt paths of the commune, parents holding children, friends lying side by side. It would become one of the deadliest mass deaths in modern history and one of the most haunting. But Jonestown did not begin as a nightmare. It began as a promise. Jim Jones did not look like a monster. He looked like a preacher. Dark glasses, controlled smile, confident voice. Born in Indiana during the Great Depression, Jones grew up obsessed with religion and power. He learned early that people longed for meaning, for certainty, for someone to tell them they mattered. In the 1950s, he founded the People's Temple, a church that preached racial equality, socialism, and communal care. At a time when America was fractured by racism and poverty, Jones offered something radical, a place where black and white worshiped together, where the poor were fed, where the forgotten were seen, and people followed. For many members, the People's Temple was salvation. Jones visited the sick, adopted children of different races, and spoke passionately against injustice. To outsiders, he looked like a visionary. To his followers, he began to look like something more. As the temple grew, so did Jones's hunger for control. He demanded loyalty, not just in belief, but in every aspect of life. Members signed over money, property, even custody of their children. Doubt was treated as betrayal. Jones claimed enemies were everywhere: the government, the press, defectors, traitors. He staged fake faith healings and punished dissenters publicly. Fear became the glue that held the community together. Still, many stayed. Leaving meant losing family, purpose, and the only home they knew. When scrutiny from journalists and former members intensified, Jones made a drastic decision. They would leave America entirely. Jonestown rose out of the Guyanese rainforest like a dream carved from isolation. Officially, it was an agricultural project, a socialist paradise free from racism, capitalism, and persecution. In reality, it was a prison. Life in Jonestown was exhausting. People worked long days clearing jungle, planting crops, and building structures under the relentless sun. Food was scarce. Privacy did not exist. Armed guards patrolled the perimeter, and escape was nearly impossible. At night, Jones's voice blasted through loudspeakers, rambling for hours about conspiracies, loyalty, death. He held rehearsals for mass suicide, calling them White Nights. He told followers that dying together would be an act of protest, a final statement against a cruel world. Many wanted to leave. Few dared to say it. In November 1978, the outside world finally arrived. Congressman Leo Ryan, alarmed by reports of abuse, traveled to Jonestown with journalists and concerned relatives. Jones tried to charm them. Smiles were forced. Songs were sung. The commune put on a show. But the truth slipped through the cracks. Notes were passed into reporters' hands. Please help us get out. We are prisoners. Fear lingered behind every smile. Ryan agreed to take several members back with him. Jones watched silently. As the group prepared to leave from a nearby airstrip, gunmen emerged from a truck. Shots rang out. Chaos erupted. Congressman Leo Ryan was killed, along with 3 journalists and a temple defector. Others were wounded, bleeding on the tarmac. Back in Jonestown, Jones knew there was no turning back. Jones gathered the community beneath the pavilion. His voice, once reassuring, now trembled with urgency. He told them the government would come, their children would be tortured, their enemies would show no mercy.
"There's no way out," he said.
Large containers of a grape-flavored drink mixed with cyanide and sedatives were brought forward. Children were first. Mothers cried. Some resisted. Others obeyed, believing there was no alternative. Armed guards surrounded the crowd. This was not a peaceful choice. It was a forced ending. People collapsed where they stood. Some screamed, some prayed, some ran and were caught. By the time the jungle fell silent, 9 to 18 people were dead. Jim Jones did not drink the poison. He was found with a gunshot wound to the head. When investigators arrived days later, they found bodies everywhere, layered, bloated in the heat, faces frozen in final expressions of fear or resignation. Images from Jonestown spread across the globe, horrifying a stunned public.
How could this happen?
The answer was not madness alone. It was manipulation, isolation, fear, and absolute power. The victims were not stupid, they were human. Jonestown changed how the world talks about cults, obedience, and charismatic leaders. It exposed how ideals, equality, justice, community, can be weaponized when placed in the hands of someone who demands unquestioned devotion. The phrase "drinking the Kool-Aid" entered popular language, though many now recognize it as a cruel simplification of immense suffering. Jonestown is not just a story of death. It is a warning. It reminds us that the most dangerous leaders are often those who promise salvation and demand everything in return.